So I am 5 videos into my attempt at doing 100 videos this year, and already I think I'm learning a bunch of things and I'm seeing a bunch of things and I'm starting to get a sense of what's going to happen next. So the easiest way to complete this project as quickly as possible would be to just do 100 vlogs, meaning I'm just gonna turn on photo booth on my Mac and just talk like this. And I might do that. I think that is a useful thing to do. How I would approach it would be to do vlogs that I think capture my talking points. And so I have a bunch of talking points that I revisit in my essays, and I revisit in my word vomits, and I revisit in my tweets. And I do think that there's something about speech, there's something about saying things with your mouth, right, that kind of forces you to prioritize what you think is interesting. The best way to do that, in my experience, is to go on podcasts and talk with people, or do live interviews with people, because there's something about the other person's reaction that challenges you to really isolate whatever is most interesting. So several of my videos, so I did not plan how long I would want my videos to be, and so I would just start talking, and my videos so far have been in the anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes, which I think is alright. These are not edited videos. These are not planned videos. I've done a couple of videos where I typed out a few thoughts in my notes about what I would want to talk about, but I have not yet started scripting out the entire video that I'm going to be making, which is something I think I will want to try to do. So one of my videos, which you can see on my channel, is kind of a top 10 things I've unlearned. And that was a very carefully scripted video because I was trying to say 10 things in 2 minutes, which is quite a rush. It's almost a rap. And I do see the value in condensing that much information into that small space. So that's something that I'm not currently trying to optimize. I'm currently trying to optimize for output. Well, so all of this is a work in progress. And what I've learned from writing and from doing music and from tweeting and doing all kinds of things is that you don't want to prematurely optimize for something before you know what you ought to be optimizing for. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to start by just creating a raw volume of output. And already, I noticed that, if I tilt my camera back, it looks a bit better than if I put the camera further away. So that's something I've learned, and I'm gonna, as I mentioned in other videos, I'm gonna get a better video camera, I'm gonna get better lighting setup, and then I may start planning and scripting my videos and editing them, and then maybe start introducing visuals and stuff. That'll be cool. But for the meantime, I just want to practice speaking, practice looking at the camera, and yeah. So I was watching a video earlier of how Grand Theft Auto, the video game, how it evolved over the years. And it also reminded me of my feelings when I was watching Contrapoints. So Contrapoints is kind of my sort of gold standard, I guess, for the kind of quality of video that I would like to be making. And I remember kind of thinking, I'm still so far away from what Natalie is doing. And of course I would be, right? Because she has been making videos for 10 years and she has thousands of dollars of resources, which is, to her credit, like, she deserves it. And she has that headspace and time and skills. And the thing that I'm trying to figure out, and I was thinking about this again when I was watching the Grand Theft Auto video, which is that, like, if you look at Grand Theft Auto 5, GTA 5, it's a amazing production quality. It has beautiful graphics, it has expansive storylines, it's in 3D, it's voice acting, music, everything's amazing. And that's something that you can only do when you have that much resources. And so so the interesting question I think to ask is, how do you get to produce GTA 5? How do you get to produce, 2-hour videos like Contra does? And you kind of have to earn the right to do big projects by doing small projects well, and that's kind of a MVP model. And so I was joking with my wife that, these videos where I'm talking directly into the camera, they're kind of like my version of GTA 1. I don't want to fall into the trap of producing overly produced videos that are not good. You know what I mean? So it's like it's better to produce a lot of middle quality, average quality videos, and then keep doing that until you see what sticks and you see what resonates with people, and then you can polish that more. So I don't want, and a part of me wonders, am I making excuses? Am I like avoiding the work that I know needs to go into making something good? And I don't think I need to get super hung up on like super in-depth philosophical arguments with myself about that. I think I've done that before with my writing. And I think rather the challenge is, so for example, I want to do a series of videos about Singapore, and those videos will require some amount of research, and research takes time, right? So, a 10-minute video, if I'm just speaking off the cuff, it takes 10 minutes to produce. But if I'm going to research something and write something and then add visuals and stuff, then a 10-minute video is going to take several hours, right? And so this is now the game gets interesting, because now it's a resource management game. It's becoming like StarCraft in a sense, right? And should I be trying to build the most big epic resources, most big epic units and structures and stuff? Probably not. The important thing, I think, is throughput. I think the important thing is flow. And I have the privilege of having a kind of existing audience. So there are people who like me enough and have enough free time, I guess, that they would be interested and willing to check out my low quality, unpolished work. And the feedback that I get from them will be very useful in helping me figure out what I should subsequently double down on. And I think also my experience from tweeting and writing, I think when I'm not conscious of it, I find myself thinking, what if I waste time making poor quality videos about important topics, and then later on, in my head, I found myself thinking, what if it's like later on if I make a video about Singapore's healthcare system and it's not a very good video, then does that disqualify me in some way from making a better quality video about the same thing later on? But I know from experience that that's not true. You can repeat yourself multiple times. You can make 10 different videos about the exact same thing. And, not everybody's going to watch all 10 videos, but you will get a sense of what the best video of the 10 is. And then you can unlist the videos that are not so good, right? So let's get meta then. What is this video about? This video is about figuring out kind of a minimum viable product methodology for video output. And I was also thinking kind of about the value of repetition. I realized that to continue with this project and to keep doing it, I'm going to have to repeat myself. And, there are people who are seeing me for the first time. So hearing me for the first time, who've never heard of me or seen me before. And everything I'm going to say is going to be new to them. And that's something I need to keep in mind. And at the same time, it's things that I've said before and written before. Some of these things I've written hundreds of times even. And I need to make sure that I am not bored and I am not going through the motions in a fake and kind of non-lively way, in like a dead way, right? Because that kills the soul of the creative artist, I think. And I say that, almost in a third person sense, because it's not about me. I'm the custodian / the janitor in this process. There exists within me some kind of creative process that I have to respect, that I am almost independent of. And for me to do really good work, or for that part of me to do really good work, it has to be curious, it has to be excited, it has to be challenged, it has to feel like it's not being made to do painful, unpleasant grunt work that is unsatisfying and frustrating. And so part of my challenge as the janitor is to try and figure out ways to keep the repetition interesting. And again, I read about this before, and I've verified this for myself to some degree. The way to remain interested in doing something that you're repeating a lot of is to pay attention to nuance. Meaning, if you're gonna boil 100 eggs, boiling is kind of straightforward. But like, if you're gonna cook a dish 100 times, even though all the steps are the same, you kind of want to get better at being nuanced in assessing, like all the boiling points. There are these moments of change, right? Like the moment where if you're cooking meat, there's like this point where the oil starts to simmer a certain way. There's the meat starts to brown a certain way and crackle a certain way, and like being hypersensitive to those things and realizing that, if the meat was colder, this happens. If the meat is warmer, this happens. If the pan was left if it was high heat earlier and then low heat now, it cooks this way and then it cooks that way. I remember so Morgan Housel, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is a pretty popular finance writer, I think. I mean, he writes about the economy and about thinking and a bunch of. He's a very smart writer. I think he used to write for Fool.com, and now he writes for Collaborative Fund, I think. And I remember when I first encountered his writing, I was like, wow, who is this incredibly skilled, talented writer who seemed to have come out of nowhere? And then I looked it up, and turns out that he had written, I think, almost 10,000 articles on Fool.com. I think like 8,000, several hundreds, or 9,000 something. And I tweeted that this guy who I thought came out of nowhere has written thousands and thousands of articles. And he replied, wrote thousands of articles but made like 4 points. Which I enjoy, right? Because it suggests to me that that's how the game works. Like, you figure out your 4 talking points, and so maybe you start with 10 because you don't know which are the best 4. You start with 10 to 20 things that you think your talking points are, and then you practice saying them thousands of times, right? And then along the way, you will occasionally notice when you said or done something good, and then you can publish it, share it, learn from it. And so it's a weird sound. I am eager to get better at this game. I want to make very good videos. I am not in a rush to force myself to decide what a very good video is or looks like. So I don't know what the ideal video length is. I thought this video is going to end in 10 minutes, but it's now approaching 12 minutes. Is that better or worse? I don't know. What is the appetite that people have for this sort of video? I will find out from experience. There's no other way to find out, so I'm not gonna use someone else's thinking on this. I'm gonna develop my own intuition for this. I'm gonna repeat myself as much as necessary, because each time I repeat myself, I'm gonna make some small changes in ways that I might not even anticipate making. And if I keep doing this day in, day out, I believe that along the way, all the things that I've already learned will start coming through, and then I will get better at this, and then we will get to see, that unlocks new interesting opportunities. It unlocks more resources. I will get more patrons on Patreon. I'll have more resources to do more interesting setups and videos, and that will be interesting and fun. Done.